Hello, listeners. My name is Chichi, and you're welcome to my podcast. This podcast is Real Talk with Chichi, and it's going to be focusing on real issues, real talk around the public relations industry. Whether it is public relations, career, social media, digital media, changing careers, job hunting, opportunities available to young PR starters, young postgraduates, and young graduates. Just sit back and enjoy yourself. I promise you, it's going to be amazing. Crises, they say, tend to strike when it is least expected, and each one has the potential to create negative headlines, bad publicity, and damage reputation. The analysis of the business corporation of contemporary organizations provides for drawing the conclusions that many of them make mistakes in the areas of crisis management. And there's a prevalent argument that the efficiency of crisis management depends primarily on identifying the crisis on time and the prompt response of the organization. Today, we're going to be discussing the role of PR in crisis management. My first guest today is Robert Mint Taylor. I'm so excited to talk about Robert. Robert comes with 50 years experience in the PR industry. He was a board director of a top 10 international consulting firm, MD of a Leeds-based PR agency, a global media relations manager who has gotten about 48 awards in teaching and practice, including an Outstanding Independent Consultant Award and Lifetime Achievement Award. We will be hearing from Robert now. Welcome to the show, Robert. Nice to have you here. First and foremost, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be talking to you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Yeah. So our topic today is on the role of PR in crisis management in organizations. Yeah. I know that public relations has had a great impact in crisis management in organizations. Yeah. So the first question I'm going to ask is, no one knows when crisis tends to strike in organizations. It is least expected. Most times we're just sitting in and boom, it hits you. How can you say organizations can best prepare for crisis when the worst happens? How can organizations prepare?
I think you're right in terms of people don't know they've got a crisis until it hits. I would say that sometimes you've got to have the crisis first before you realize you've got an issue that you need to resolve. There was a case some years ago of a cruise ship called the Costa Concordia that crashed into some rocks off the Italian Mediterranean coast. Okay. And a number of people died as a result of that. And it was only after the crisis when the company realized that their cruise ships on a 7-day cruise around the Mediterranean were not following the
maybe the standard operating procedure.
Okay. Exactly.
Wow.
And what was happening was that the captains, all men, were doing a bravado thing. So this captain of this particular ship, the Costa Concordia, who had a history, by the way, of accidents, wanted to show off to his girlfriend, who was on the bridge, how close he could get into shore.
Wow.
It was a bravado thing. And this is often what happens in crises, that you don't realize that you've got a problem until you hit that problem. Look at the chart. Look at the Confederation of British Industry, the most
the CBI
business federation in the United Kingdom, representing all the good and the great in this country.
Yes.
Huge corporations. Why was it that no one knew that they had or had really that they had a problem. They had a problem with sexuality. They had a problem in behavior of principally men towards women, employees.
Yeah.
Why was that ignored, repeatedly ignored? And why did it take for a woman to bring a sexual harassment case against the organization before they woke up? And now they've got tens of organizations leaving them, and the whole organization is, there are even people saying, is it going to survive? Does it need to be a completely new organization with new governance? So it's often a question of governance.
Yeah. Now that you brought that up, thank you, Robert. Now that you brought that up, so I read up on that story, and it really got me worried. I mean, it was not just about the suspending the head of the organization. It's gone to the point where even stakeholders, investors are pulling out and saying, we don't want to be associated with this company. We don't want to be associated with this organization that is so plagued with sexual issues. How do you think that organizations like this, who hit a crisis without knowing, how do you think they can best position to come out of it? Secondly,
I think
secondly, sorry, Robert, do you see the CBI coming out of this?
Yeah, I do. I think I do, but I think this is all a question of trust. When it takes a long time to build up trust, but it can go in a click of a second, can't it?
Yeah, yes, I agree.
And it's like a pack of dominoes, once one thing falls over, the whole thing starts collapsing.
Yeah, that's
I think you have to be very frank, very honest. You have to admit mistakes. You have to show compassion.
Yeah. And
you have to put your hands up and say, we've got it wrong.
So you admit to the problem.
You have to admit the problem. And this is very, very difficult for very senior executives, particularly chief executives and chairmen of companies, chairpersons, because they're not used to admitting mistakes.
Yes.
I mean, look at your profession. How many lawyers would admit they've made a mistake in a court case?
Not many.
Not many. No, it's not in the DNA.
Yeah.
And this is, I think that's the first thing you've got to do.
Yes.
I think you need to show concern for what's happened.
Yeah.
You've got to have a clarity of communications around it. You've got to be able to control the situation and demonstrate you've got confidence in being able to manage the incident and competence in resolving it. Now, I think the CBI have gone through to the first three. Well, the first two.
Yes. Yes.
Have they got control of the situation? Well, that we have to see.
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
Well, there are some good signs insofar as they've appointed a new chief executive who's a woman.
Yes, yes.
And I think that's a major plus point.
That's a smart move. That was a smart move.
Well, a smart move. And we will see whether she is able to take control of the situation. And she needs to have the resources to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And that we see confidence that they can manage that situation and they have the competence in resolving it. So I think they can get through it. And yes, some people using a shipping terminology of jump ship. I think that's regrettable. I think they should, if I was one of those corporations, I'd say, look, this is not great at all.
Yes.
And we need to resolve it. But we will give you some resources to help resolve it in terms of people and time.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Richard.
Rather than just bailing out. It's too easy just to say, oh well, we're just well, the best thing we can do, we don't want to be involved with this toxic culture.
Thank you so much, Robert, for the insight. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you. We appreciate it. Like I said earlier, today is going to be amazing. You guys sit back, get a bowl of popcorn, get a glass of wine, and enjoy yourself. My second guest today is Kehinde Azeez. Kehinde is a graduate of mass communications, currently on an European Union scholarship for his master's in international corporations, communications and media management. He has a bachelor's degree and national diploma in mass communications from University of Benin and Polytechnic. He's also a PR and personnel management associate. Currently, he works as a marketing communications associate with a US-based firm. Kehinde will be joining us from Germany. Welcome, Kehinde. Okay, so let's cut straight to the chase. So, Kehinde, you have had experience with an organization in Nigeria before you proceeded for your postgraduate studies. How well, in your own opinion, how well will you say Nigerian companies are prepared for crisis and emergency?
This is a very straightforward question, but I'll try to be brief as much as possible. From my experience thus far, I really don't think most Nigerian companies, I really don't think they are prepared for crisis or emergency, because their idea of crisis management is totally different from what is widely acceptable.
Okay.
And basically, I would not blame those companies. The fault basically lies with the government, because when conglomerates come into your country to come and do business,
yes,
the laws, the rules and regulations that you have readily available that they work with. So if they see that there are lapses in the rules and regulations that guide the conduct of establishments in your country, definitely, they would not want to waste a lot of money in engaging in, things that would not, yield return for the company, most especially when the rules and regulations that govern the conduct of companies in such country is nothing to write home about. So
what you're trying to say is that there's no standard procedure like SOP. There are no regulatory bodies that check.
At all. Even if they are, there's a lot of slack.
Okay.
But there's a lot of slack. You've had Nigerians working with Indian firms, Chinese firms. There have been a lot of complaint with respect to labor, and the government is doing nothing up until now. So imagine that there tends to be a crisis. How do you think such complaints would handle it? They would just handle it with levity, knowing fully well that there's nothing that would happen. And even if anything is going to happen, they can easily bribe their way through. So currently our crisis, management scheme is really nothing, we've not really done much with that regard. It was only during Easter, I actually saw a curative PR, but again, curative PR is in stages. They did an advert in commemorating with the Christians in Nigeria for the Easter celebration. And
yes, I saw that. That. There was an apology and a withdrawal of that.
Exactly. So what they just did was to withdraw. They withdrew the.
In all, I would say that looks like success to me, because that is not the normal. That's not the average Nigerian story we hear. Anything literally go before in Nigeria. But when I saw that, while reading this weeks ago, I stumbled on that and I was like, this is good news. If we can do this, because this is practically what happens in the West. So if Nigerian PR companies are beginning to be aware that there are messages and PR messages that could be offensive. Kehinde, thank you for coming here. Thank you for being a guest on our podcast. We hope to have you sometime again. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. You're welcome.
Okay. I hope that you've learned something today. I hope that you enjoyed the topic that we had today. Leave your comments below. Please like, subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts were and what we said. I hope you had an amazing time. Till next time on the podcast, it's bye for now.